There he is. Go. Nice.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Beautiful fish. Man, look at the colors on her. All over.
There. Yeah, just a Canadian shield crappie, and everywhere we go, it seems like everybody loves big crappies.
No question. One of the funnest fish to catch.
Absolutely. When you can combine a beautiful snowmobile ride, a couple of portages, and you're fishing these, these backwoods, you feel like you're on secret lakes every time you come up in this country. And they're just thick fish, heavy fish. And I tell you what, this relatively new fishery in Manitoba, it's not that very far for a lot of Americans. And tell you what, it's definitely something to put on your radar, because I don't think a lot of people know about this. But it's a pretty special fishing opportunity. Excellent. Boy, what a beautiful ride.
I'll tell you, these Manitoba backcountry trails are beautiful. There's tons of them through the province that get you into lakes like this.
We're in eastern Manitoba, and we're on the Whiteshell River Chain. And you look at an aerial overhead view of a map of this area, and just water everywhere. And there's a lot of these places that are hard to get to, but it's worth getting to, because these areas are remote. They don't get a lot of fishing pressure, and especially for ice anglers, what an incredible, incredible fishing opportunity. It's like traveling back in time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jason. I mean, you look around, we've got this gorgeous lake all to ourselves, and this area it's spotted with lakes all over that are snowmobile accessible. You just got to find a little bit, some maps, a little bit of research to get into them, and there's a world of angling opportunities for anybody that wants to come and enjoy it. Let's get after them.
And what we're going to do out here is we're just hitting these holes that are anywhere from 15 to 20 feet of water where these crappies winter. And you can find a lot of these locations by just looking at maps. We're just drilling a lot of holes through here and just trying to find them. Once we can mark some fish, then we'll set up a house.
Don't see anything on the screen here. On to the next. What we're doing is we're looking for these crappies all on the edges of this basin. And while Jason's drilling holes behind me, I'm going around with my Vexlar trying to see if I can find any suspended fish or even some fish on the bottom. And once we do, we're going to set up right on top of them and fish them in those holes.
Here he's coming in.
One of the coolest things about this Vexlar is this auto function. I'll tell you, you put it on auto, and as soon as I drop it down, the sonar goes and thinks for a second, and then it tells me exactly how deep I am and sets the dial up automatically for that depth. But now that I know my depth range, what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this knob here. I'm going to turn it to 30. And I still get the same relative readout. I'm still reading the same bottom, but what that's going to help me with is as I move from hole to hole, it's going to make me way more efficient, because it's going to reduce the need for that sonar unit to think about what the depth range is on the dial. Watch, you can see this here. I'm going to pull this out, the readout goes away, and I put it back in, and it's instantaneous. And here, you can see some fish right off the bottom. Hey Jason, I got some fish over here.
Here we go. Yeah. Beautiful fish right there.
Oh, there's a nice guy here. There's a nice fish there. Well, we're off to a good start here. We're just going to bounce around from hole to hole a little bit here. And if we really get on top of them and find them thick in one spot, we're going to set up the house and fish them inside. There he is.
Another crappie. You know, we've been working our way across this hole. If you can imagine this hole being a bowl, we started out in the middle where we thought they'd be. We marked very few fish and very few biters. We started working our way across, where we get to the edge of it where it starts to come up on the lip, and these fish are just stacked on here. So then we've got a pretty good spot to set up.
Oh, here he comes, here he comes. Good fish, good fish. Oh, there's a nicer fish right there. You know, these fish could be positioned anywhere around here. There's a bit deeper basin off behind us here, but they seem to be positioned all around the shallower edge. And we're on a few fish here, so what do you say we go get the shack dish and set up on top of them?
Nice crappie, I think we've got a spot.
If there's fish on the screen, size I find is really important. And if they start to dissipate while I'm putting it down, then I'll usually right away switch to something smaller until I can see the fish. It's not spooking when they actually start coming up for it. There he is.
All right.
Nice work, Jason.
This is a heavy fish.
Beauty, nice work, Jason. Look at that. Oh, wow. Holy. Whoa, man. Look at how deep that thing is.
Look at this. Look at this. That's a big crappie here, but look at the girth on these. I mean, they're just so thick, but wow.
That's not a pie plate. That thing is a dinner plate.
You got that right.
Wow.
I want to get this fish back in the water right away. Oh wow, I watched that one come in.
That's what we come out here for.
Absolutely, what a special fishing opportunity. Oh my.
What a beautiful
crappie.
crappie.
Oh my.
My goodness.
Don't lose that one.
What a beautiful. Oh man, what a beautiful fish. I'll tell you what, you know, we had a beautiful ride in here this morning. Yeah, we were in a backcountry lake here in the Canadian Shield, and I'll tell you what, we got it all to ourselves. It's real cold outside, so we've kind of been stuck in the shack to catch these fish, but they're here in numbers, and I'll tell you what, you know, and even though we're here on our own, these lakes are accessible, and you can come here and have opportunities to put fish like this on the ice. And just, you know, to touch on that point, we don't have a lot of crappie in Manitoba, but what we do have is really great, and it's really important for us as anglers to make sure that the next generation of anglers coming up has those fish to access, and they can do the same thing that we're doing right here. So I'm going to take the hook out of this fish, and I'm going to let this beauty go back to be caught another day.
Probably not that many places left where you can catch the quality of fish that we're seeing now. And so I think it's imperative that anglers, if they discover something like this, that they throw them back. As ice anglers, we're all our own worst enemy, in the sense that people discover a special lake or a special fishing opportunity, and they just can't help but fill up a 5-gallon pail every time they go out. But everybody does that, especially with panfish, and then you see the quality of our pan fishing decline over time. And so what happens, you have to go to more remote areas to get away from the fishing pressure. And these are some of the last great places left. And so with that being said, it's important that we, you know, as ice anglers, adjust our attitude and our mentality so we can also conserve and preserve these areas, because they truly are special.
What we're fishing here is a deeper basin where these crappie like to spend the winter. And what we did when we first pulled up to this spot is we drilled a whole pile of holes. And now we're just moving the fish house, and we're gonna try to see where we can find those fish. And once they show up on the Vexlars, we're gonna fish them where they're at.
Go.
Yeah,
That's a nice fish.
gotta love that, huh? Oh yeah, another beautiful crappie. But yeah, so this opportunity's only existed in the last 20 years, 21, 22 years, but it's amazing how these fish will get into a lake. They're so prolific. If the opportunity's right, if the habitat's right, these fish can just explode. But you know, just the lack of pressure, lack of anglers, it's just a perfect storm for crappies. Pretty phenomenal ice fishing opportunity, it really is.
Every single one of these fish I've closed on a hover without moving that little jig.
Cool, cool, cool.
Oh! Oh, it's another perfect little eating size Manitoba crappie. Boy, when we get on these fish, boy, they can be aggressive. That one sure sucked it up. We're gonna let this one go.
We're in the eastern region of Manitoba, and this area is literally loaded with small little lakes that are snowmobile accessible that present a ton of opportunity to the avid winter angler. There's various websites you can access that will give you links to snowmobile maps of the areas. They'll give you stalking reports. They're loaded with good information that's going to help you get back into these lakes safely and help you experience the kind of angling that we've had here today.
Got him.
There you go, there you go. Oh, is that cool?
Same thing again, just sitting it dead still. Here's a nice little crab.
Beautiful fish.
Man, are they fun. What a gorgeous crappie. Love catching these things. Back home, buddy.
That fish actually slacklined it.
Really? That's a
Yeah.
nice one.
Yeah.
Real nice one.
Come here.
That's nice.
You know, for sure, people don't think of Manitoba when they think of crappies. Think of Ontario, I think of a lot of places in northern Minnesota. And to be fair, crappies aren't native in a lot of this water. It's a relatively new fishery, but what a neat opportunity. Talk about research, stocking, and trying to establish a new fishery and actually seeing it work.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You know, it's been a number of years now since they stocked the headwaters of the Whiteshell River system here in eastern Manitoba with these fish. And it's taken a little bit of time for them to work their way through the system, but we've got a number of lakes now that, via a combination of isolation and great spawning habitat, the species has really evolved into a great fishable population. And we get to enjoy it time and time again through here. It takes a little bit to access it, but the fish are there, and usually they're very cooperative. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Cool, cool, cool. Oh yeah. You know, there's no doubt we've been just shuffling along here. We'll set up over these fish, and these fish are fleeting. We'll be on these fish for a little while. We'll wear out our welcome, and we just got to keep shuffling. But there's no doubt about it. The big moves find fish, but the small moves catch fish. Oh, there we go.
Oh, he's loaded up.
I love that. I just love that. You know, that light tip rod, they just barely, it's amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Amazing how these fish can just barely bump it. Isn't that cool? Oh, that fish just swallowed. You got forceps there? Thanks.
There you go, my friend. Nice job, Mr. Mitchell.
There. Yeah, just beautiful fish. Beautiful fish. And these fish, you know, they're coming up, and they're coming up in anywhere from on the bottom to maybe the middle of the water column. But one thing, wherever you fish for crappies, one of the most important things, and we've been talking about this through the day, is to figure out how high those fish are going to raise up. Is it going to be 2 feet? Is it going to be 5 feet? Is it going to be 7 feet? And typically, the higher you can get those fish to raise, the more aggressive they're going to be. Now today, we're dealing on the backside of a cold front. It's probably about 20 degrees below zero. It's been cold. We've been having to move the house around, and it's been, you know, the elements have made it tougher. But the biggest thing about today is that these fish will only come maybe a foot, 2 feet at the max. And so even though we're on this, you know, lake that these fish have probably seldom seen lures.
That's true, Jason. They're still fish. They're still subject to the same atmospheric changes that fish in lakes that get pressured all the time.
But by adapting your presentation, adapting your attitude and mentality, you can still trigger these fish. And you discovered it right away this morning. You're just floating that jig and just letting it dead stick, where you're almost letting just the vibration from your body sway that rod tip, and those tentacles will dance. And it's really a do nothing approach.
And you got another one
on these off
right
fish.
There,
yep, absolutely. See if we can get this one here.
Looks good.
There he is.
Whoa, what do we got here?
Oh my, look at that.
Isn't that funny?
That is great. That is great. Boy, that's a good fish.
Is it a crappie or you got a walleye?
Yeah. We'll see soon enough. Oh yeah. Yeah. Look at that. Whoop. That was a save.
Yeah, no kidding.
There. Boy, I just love the spunk these fish have. And you know, it's typical basin crappie patterns in the sense that, you know, if you were just to look at these lakes, very picturesque, just beautiful, beautiful lakes. But you'd swear that we were fishing for lake trout out here. And the fact that there's crappies out here is incredible. And you know, we're fishing, probably the deepest we've found fish today is 20 feet, 15 foot. We're just focusing on these classic holes, and pretty straightforward program. I love that XL tungsten drop jig. It's just a bigger jig. You can see that bigger, heavier profile. We're just teaming up with a Mackie plastic. Water's really stained. This glow has been working well, but it's just a fast dropping, easy to find target for these fish. And once you find them, catching them isn't rocket science. These fish have probably never seen a lure in some cases. It's just fishing fast, using something these fish can see and find.
You know, absolutely, Jason. These larger profile plastics and these tungsten jigs are just what you need in the stained water to locate these fish. Even if you're not marking them on the sonar, a lot of times you can drop that jig down and those fish are going to show up. And like you said earlier, once you find them, it's not rocket science catching them.
There you go. Good fish, huh?
Beautiful fish.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, nice fish.
What a beautiful crappie. Man, he hammered it. As soon as I saw that mark on the Vexlar, I put that drop kick down to him and he came up and slurped it right in. Gonna get my trusty forceps out. If you're willing to brave the cold and go through the extreme measures to get to some of these backcountry lakes, you can catch fish like this all day long, and a lot of them are more than willing to play ball with you. What a beautiful fish and a great experience out here. I'm gonna let this nice guy go.